They told him he wasn't the right fit. That's what the rejection email said. Not that he wasn't qualified. Not that they had too many applicants. Just that he wasn't the right fit. Which is interesting, because what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, is that the man they just turned away would become their future boss. And not because he begged for a second interview. Not because he asked them to reconsider. No, he did something most people only dream of. He bought the entire company. Let me tell you how it happened. The man's name is Marcus Taylor, son of a single mother, born and raised in a modest neighborhood just outside Atlanta. Life wasn't easy growing up, but his mom made sure the lights stayed on, the homework got done, and that Marcus knew who he was, even if the world tried to tell him otherwise. Marcus was smart. Not just book smart, resourceful. Hustler-type smart. When other kids were playing video games after school, Marcus was fixing bikes, flipping used sneakers, even setting up a mobile car wash service in his teens. By the time he graduated high school, he had more saved in his bank account than most of his teachers. But Marcus didn't stop there. He got a scholarship to a good state university, studied computer science, graduated near the top of his class. He interned at 2 tech companies and built a small software tool that got picked up by a regional business magazine. He was building his name, quietly, carefully. After college, he wanted to work in software full-time, ideally at a company where he could grow, learn the ropes, and eventually start his own tech firm. So he applied to dozens of places, big and small, including one mid-sized firm he'd had his eye on since college, Clearbyte Technologies. Clearbyte wasn't a household name, but in the industry, they were respected. They did cloud services and data analytics for hospitals and insurance companies. Marcus had followed them for years. He loved their projects. He knew their leadership team. He even tailored his resume just for them, highlighting the exact programming languages they used, the open source work he'd done in similar fields, and specific problems their team had been tackling. He was qualified, more than qualified. But when he submitted his application, weeks passed. No call. No interview. Just silence. Then, one morning, he opened his inbox to find a bland rejection email. Thank you for applying to Clearbyte Technologies. At this time, we will not be moving forward with your application. We've decided to pursue candidates who are a better fit for our company culture. That last line stuck with him. A better fit. He reread it 3 times. What did that mean? Was it because he didn't go to an Ivy League school? Because his name didn't come with a fancy connection? Or was it something more obvious? Something written in his photo? His skin? His identity? He didn't want to believe it. But it wouldn't be the first time. He stared at the email for a long time. And then he did something most people wouldn't. He didn't delete it. He saved it. Because something inside him shifted that day. Not out of anger. Not out of spite. But resolve. If they didn't want to hire him, one day, they'd work for him. Fast forward 5 years. Marcus had built a business of his own. It started with one client, a medical billing firm that needed a custom platform. Marcus built it solo in his apartment. Then another clinic reached out. Then another. Word got around. Soon he had a team of 4 developers, then 12. Then a full office space with 25 people on payroll. He called his company Tallycore. And it didn't take long for it to become one of the fastest-growing health tech startups in the region. Investors noticed. By year 6, Marcus had secured a multi-million-dollar round of funding, expanded to 2 more states, and was bidding against some of the industry's biggest names. And that's when the opportunity came knocking. He was in a meeting with his head of strategy when the analyst brought it up. There's a firm quietly looking for acquisition or merger. They've been struggling to stay relevant, losing clients, old systems, leadership issues. Marcus raised an eyebrow. What firm? The analyst smiled. Clearbyte Technologies. At first, Marcus thought it was a joke. It felt surreal. The same company that once dismissed him as not a good fit was now looking to be saved. He didn't say a word in that meeting. He just leaned back in his chair, stared out the window for a moment, and smiled. 2 weeks later, Marcus walked into the Clearbyte building. This time not as a job applicant, but as the potential buyer. The office looked almost exactly as he remembered from their virtual tours years ago. Glass walls, stiff suits, forced smiles. He was greeted by a junior executive who clearly didn't recognize him. They led him to a sleek boardroom with a view of the city skyline. The CEO of Clearbyte walked in a few minutes later, older, tired-looking, but still carrying himself like he ran the world. The introductions were polite, professional. The CEO launched into his pitch, explained the company's vision for the future, their challenges and scalability, their need for fresh leadership and capital. Marcus listened, nodded, asked smart questions. But inside, he wasn't just analyzing numbers. He was remembering that rejection email, the phrasing, the message behind it. Not a good fit. When it was his turn to speak, he didn't say anything about that day years ago. He didn't mention the email. He didn't bring up his original application. He just laid out his plan, what his company could bring, how they could integrate systems, improve processes, modernize the brand, expand the market. It was a clean deal. Fair, smart, and they accepted it. Marcus Taylor became the new owner and CEO of Clearbyte Technologies. The announcement went public the next month. A few business outlets picked it up. Nothing huge until a tech reporter dug into the backstory and found that Marcus had once applied to work at the company and been rejected. Then the headline wrote itself, "Rejected by the company. Now he owns it." The story went viral. Local news picked it up first, then national outlets. Interviews followed. Talk shows called. Marcus stayed humble, giving credit to his team, his mother, his mentors. But the internet didn't let go of the story. People called it the ultimate underdog comeback, a real-life reversal of fortune. And when asked in one interview what he remembered most about that original rejection, Marcus simply said, "I remember how it felt. Not the words. The feeling. That I didn't belong. That I wasn't part of their picture. So I decided to paint my own." Now here's the best part. Marcus didn't fire the entire Clearbyte team. He didn't walk in and start swinging. Instead, he set up one-on-one meetings with every department head. He listened. He evaluated. And in the end, he kept the people who brought value and let go of those who had held the company back, including the CEO who once signed off on his rejection. One of the biggest internal shifts Marcus made was launching a new initiative, an inclusive hiring and mentorship program that focused on underrepresented tech talent. He said, "There's too much potential out there being overlooked. I know. I was one of them." That program led to dozens of new hires, many from neighborhoods like the one Marcus grew up in. But perhaps the most powerful moment came during a company-wide town hall. Hundreds of employees gathered to hear from their new CEO for the first time. Many didn't know his story. He walked on stage, paused, and said, "Some of you may not know this, but years ago, I applied to work here. I didn't get in. I was told I wasn't the right fit. At the time, it hurt. But now I realize I was never supposed to just fit in. I was meant to change the frame." The room went silent. Then came the applause. Marcus went on to grow the combined company into one of the top players in healthcare data services. And every time he hired someone new, especially someone who reminded him of his younger self, he'd tell them, "You belong here. Don't let anyone make you think otherwise." And just like that, the man who was once turned away for not fitting the mold built a bigger, better mold, one that made room for more than just people who looked like the board. So yeah, they rejected the black man's job application, and he bought the company. If this story inspired you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow and lets me keep sharing stories just like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.